This video is all about energy. In particular, it's about energy medicine. What is it? How does it work? And what are some energy medicine techniques? Laura, lovely to speak to you.
As well.
I know what energy is. I think it's the stuff that makes the lights go.
Yes.
And it gets me up and moving in the morning.
Yes.
What is energy medicine?
So I didn't know that there was a whole practice in this. And it's, a lot of people think about it like Reiki or there's healing traditions. I ended up going back to school in energy medicine, which was basically the study of how people heal, specifically before there were hospitals, doctors, online, WebMD, things like that. How did people actually get themselves better? And what were their traditions and practices? So I knew I needed to study. This is one of my intuitions, and talk about synchronicity. I had been in Ecuador and Peru, Ecuador in 2011, and then down there for about a week studying this work, as well as feminine energy and intuition. And 18 months later went down to Peru and started having the opportunity to look at how the medicine men and women of the Amazon were doing their work. And what I came to learn was that there was a whole field and practice that I could use and access in the US. And the one question I had, I knew I needed to do it, but I didn't know exactly why at that time. But I felt like I had a hypothesis, and actually it was more about a question. How does leadership and leadership development coordinate and collaborate at all with energy medicine? Is there a connection?
Surely there's no connection at all.
Right. So this is where I got curious about energy medicine. What I came to learn was that there's 4 different types of energy medicine in the very traditional sense. One is that the very base level is about the body. For example, if you have a broken arm or hand or something, the physical. The second one up is an emotional level where people need to be healed. The third is from a soul level, and really looking at, what's our calling of our soul and being able to move. And the last and highest level is a spirit. Looking, and this can get, for some people religious, it's not intended this way. It's looking at it from the source of some greater power than ourselves and helping to guide us. And all 4 levels are used to do healing work in these ancient traditions.
So if that's the case and that part makes sense,
yes.
Here's the part that's a leap, a stretch.
Yeah.
Help me form a bridge between that tradition and any kind of modern leadership technique, because surely they're almost the antithesis of each other. Like imagine you're the CEO of some big company and you say, today, we're doing some energy medicine together, my friends. Fired, get out, next person.
So interestingly, I did this at a board of directors meetings for a very large company. And I actually started them using the 4 areas for ways to think strategically about the direction of their organization. So the bridge between the work had divided the groups into 4 and had one group look at the very high level from a bigger source. How do we think about this project from a strategic vantage point? All the way down to what's the next steps in terms of, like, instead of thinking about the body, what needs to be healed, you can think about it as
sort of the body corporate.
It's the body corporate. What's the short-term work that must be done? What are the emotions that are part of this? How's the organization going to react to the changes we're bringing? So it has high correlation, but the biggest one is about how we carry our energy and how we use it and leverage it.
You were talking about techniques to apply, as it were, the energy medicine methodology in a boardroom. What about at a personal level? Is there something that someone could do who's watching this video, perhaps step by step, or some thoughts or questions or processes to bring this kind of energy medicine and good healing into their day-to-day life?
Yeah, I think there's a level of consciousness and awareness of understanding what is my own energy. When we walk into a room, how are we showing up? How do we feel about it for ourselves? So I'll go on the very basic level of this. Very basic premises, for example, what food are you eating? We know that if you eat fruits and vegetables, really good, nutritious meals compared to processed food. What does that do to our body and our energy level? If you think about it within a half hour after eating those things, how do you feel? That impacts how can you possibly lead and in being able to do really good work when you are not feeding yourself. And I use food as the analogy, but you can say the people around you. You notice there are people that are infectious with their energy. I look at the group I get to work with here, this team. It's fun. We put music on. The energy's moving. I can do that compared to other groups I've worked with, which is very quiet. And they're just, it's a level down, and it's, you don't really want to be with them very much.
Sort of energy deficit people.
Yeah, very much so.
As opposed to energy surplus people,
yes.
who can sort of snatch good juice out of thin air.
Yes.
In this case, out of thin music.
Yeah.
To stretch the analogy.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing here is that you can consider this as an analogy or technique or thought process corporately. Mm-hmm. You can consider it just from a food point of view. Any tips and tricks for sort of applying this to life?
I think this is part of us paying attention to it, to first realize just how important our energy is. And once we bring that to the awareness, notice how it plays out in everything we do, for how we engage and lead others, for how we really garner new ideas, for how we, enroll others to be able to do something differently than they wanted to do. It's all about, are we creating an energy for people to want to step into that place? It's all about energy.
You were talking about the food analogy, I think you mentioned.
Yes.
I like thinking of that, like what's our creative food?
Yes.
One thing I've noticed with my family, we typically stay away from the news, and we typically stay away from television shows that involve death, crime.
Violence. It sucks the energy.
Do these sorts of things have an impact?
You've seen it. I think you're answering the question beautifully, which is yes, and I too have the similar situation where I don't find, for example, violent films entertaining. It sucks my energy, it depletes me, and I will walk out. My family knows. I will literally stand up and walk out of a movie theater if I find it's too violent. It's not entertaining to me. It drains my energy. So it's paying attention and noticing as one technique what things bring you energy, what takes it away from you.
And just do more of one and less of the other?
Exactly. And it might be around the food you eat, the activities you do, the people you get to be with, the places, like physical places have energetic connection points for people that you just feel better. Sometimes there's a field, and being in nature has much more energy for you than being obviously in the middle of a city. It has a different kind of energy. So the question is, what is it? And noticing what feeds you. Certain people are turned on by that energy in like New York City. It's
right.
Huge, amazing stuff happening.
There's crazy energy there.
Yes.
But there's a certain point where I kind of go, you know what, thank you and enough.
Yes.
Let me get out to perhaps nature or somewhere else.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts around energy medicine and energy as part of your daily routine?
I think every day, on a very simple level, I look at being grateful as a way to start my day and start my energy going in the right flow. And I think about it, there's a great app called the 5 Minute Journal. And it pops up on my phone every day where I get to add 3 things I'm grateful for. And it puts me in the flow of energy about things that I have abundance or I can find in my life that's the goodness. And it's not just like, okay, I've got a roof over my head and I got food. Granted, that is something that's very important. It has to be 3 things that are unique to this day. And it forces you to go from the plain Jane peanut butter and jelly version
a little deeper.
Yeah.
A little more granular.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For those of you who'd like to find out more, please visit us online at purposestone.com. Also, feel free to like this video, share this video if you have any questions in the comments section below, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel.